forgive ECU?
R.
Do you bleed purple and gold? Are you ready to hoist the colors?
Hoist the colors!
It's time for the most in-depth look into the world of ECU athletics. Welcome to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 94.3thegame.com. Here's Stephen Igo.
Welcome in. It's Hoist the Colors on a Tuesday, May 5th. Cinco de Mayo is here, and we're going to talk a lot of ECU baseball throughout the show. Also got some news and notes to drop on ECU athletics as a whole. We'll hit that before we get out of here. Coaching change at women's lacrosse. We'll touch on that. Also, softball gets some all-conference recognition ahead of their conference tournament. We had Shane Winkler on, head softball coach, Monday show, along with Cliff Godwin, head baseball coach. You can check out those interviews, as always, archived on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, also archived on our YouTube page, 94.3 The Game. Make sure to like us and subscribe there. Our numbers continue to grow. Monitoring the feed right now, we're closing in on 2,000 subscribers. And this is a channel we basically started when Hoist the Colors launched on 94.3 The Game a couple years ago. So we've had tremendous growth there. We'll continue to try and get that page up. And what do you know, Lane Smith in the chat already. As to be expected on this Tuesday, we appreciate Lane's consistency, unlike the ECU baseball team. Lane, if anything, is consistent in his comments. Now, the tone of his comments may be a little inconsistent. We'll get to that more here in a minute, but at least he is consistently present, unlike Pirate Baseball, it seems, at times. All right, Philip Pilkington, he's back in the 94.3 The Game studios. I should add, we're going to visit with Mike Mullis as well in our second segment for some more ECU baseball talk, and we'll dive into what needs to go right over these final 2 weeks of the regular season for ECU baseball to make the postseason. Yes, that is still a very distinct possibility. But Philip Pilkington, he was taking in some playoff hockey last night. We're going to get more into that once James Gilio joins us Wednesday. But he saw the Hurricanes prevail in overtime over the Flyers. Sorry to Mark Miller from IBX Media, who did not see his Flyers win. But at least Canes country is very happy with his victory.
Yeah, they are. In a game that, it was weird. Flyers got to an early 2-0 lead. And then the Flyers started playing this really weird of just kind of like dump and chase hockey. They were not really setting up anything in the offensive zone. Now the Canes defense is so suffocating in the neutral zone. That had a lot to do with it, but they looked a little bit at awe, and they're young. They're not really used to playoff hockey. 11 guys made their playoff debut this year. But it was kind of weird. It was a little frustrating, I think, for Mark just to not see much attempts to set up in the zone for them, even with the 2-goal lead and then what became a 2-1 lead for majority of the game. But overall, happy for the Canes fans. It was fun to be in attendance. I was a little worried, man. The energy got sucked out of that building real quick when it was 2-0. Honestly, the energy wasn't even there as much as it normally is for a playoff game. Normally, it's like really energetic, and like I think part of the problem is the towels. I know people love the rally towels, but like right before the game when everybody's just doing this, it's not very loud, right?
Nobody's making noise.
Yeah, I like the clapping and the screaming, and I've been to a handful of Canes playoff games now one time, and I remember one time they were playing the Bruins, and it was game 1 of the first round, and my sister looked at me. It was her first ever NHL playoff game. She'd been to regular season games. She's like, even though it's not the team I'm like pulling for, this makes my heart smile that I can't actually hear myself think right now. I'm having to scream at you from like 6 inches away. So, that part of it, I guess, is cool. But, I don't know, man. I just didn't see much energy, and then it was 2-0, and it looks like it could have been a long night for the Canes, but a great wake-up call. They had not trailed in 27 days, I think it was. Yeah. It was since April the 7th when my Bruins took a 1-0 lead on them early. The Canes ended up winning the game. But, so Wag said he liked the wake-up call.
Yeah, I mean, it almost feels like, and we get more into this Wednesday, but it almost feels like the Canes expect to roll in the series, which they probably should, and I think the fan base kind of feels that way too. So you don't have that maybe same sense of urgency, unlike maybe in the next round when they're actually trying to get to the Stanley Cup, which obviously has been an issue, with the performance in the Eastern Conference Finals and deeper to the playoffs in recent years. So I think we'll see more sense of urgency. We'll see if the Flyers can extend this series, at least win a game. The Canes may just go into the Eastern Conference Finals 8-0, but we'll see. You think Flyers at least win a game in Philly?
They've got to have a different approach than they had last night. They've got to be more aggressive offensively. They can't be so passive. This is something they've done really since Game 5. of the last series. So the way they're playing right now, no, they cannot. If they play their brand of hockey, the brand that we saw them play the first 3 games of the Pittsburgh series, then I think they can. Carolina's still a much better team than Pittsburgh. I think they can, maybe grab one, but they're going to have to change their mindset, and they're going to have to play their brand of hockey. They can't be afraid to make mistakes. This is the problem. They're worried. They're trying to protect their young guys from making mistakes. Look, you're playing with house money. So go out there and play. Learn from your mistakes. Play with reckless abandon, and I think sometimes they almost looked too passive last night and looked too passive in Game 5 and through most of Game 6 of the last series.
All right, we will see how it plays out. Canes, again, Game 3 in Philly coming up later this week. We'll dive more into hockey in the days ahead. Let's talk some ECU baseball. Lane Smith in the chat says, is it football season yet, man? I don't think I've ever said that during baseball season. He says, but this team blows. Kenny follows up and says, I'm disappointed in this team, but they still have everything still in reach. Sorry, Lane, they do not blow. Look, all right, so ECU baseball, it's been a second straight frustrating regular season. And again, I've said it multiple times that the injuries are a part of the story. They do not excuse the performance this past weekend. And for many of the weekend series losses at Tulane the same way. My question for the show today is what needs to go right for ECU down the stretch? You have 7 regular season games remaining, 3 versus Rice. You play Campbell midweek in your final midweek game next Tuesday, and then you then you go on the road to Florida Atlantic. Now, we can kind of run down some bullet points that just come to mind here, Philip, as what needs to go right. For me, I'm going to start with the injury front. I just think you need to at least get somewhat healthy, at least the guys who can be healthy. And what I mean by that is I don't expect Sean Jenkins back during the regular season. I don't expect Kobe Weber back during the regular season. But I do expect Grady Linehan back. And I think he would be a guy who would boost your lineup. Thomas Paxton has obviously been pitching the last few times, but he's getting more back into the groove. He gives you another bullpen arm on the health perspective. If he can get back to full strength, maybe he gives you a guy who can go multiple innings as you go deeper into the regular season. But I'm mainly looking at Grady Linehan and on the offensive side and just continuing to get some guys like Paxton back and maybe even Antolik. It sounds like he's at least trending in the right direction. But I think mainly Linehan and also hopefully avoiding more injuries because it just feels like every week there's a new injury that pops up, Philip. So I just want to see this team get healthy enough to at least have a spark down the stretch and hopefully, carry that into the conference tournament.
Yeah, I think Grady coming back would be big. You'd have 4 true outfielders that can hit the ball really well, and they could arguably be your 4 best hitters. I guess they're 4 or your 5, I guess, because Braden's still an infielder right now. So, yeah, man, look, they got to hit the ball. That's what it comes down to. Look, the pitching hasn't been as consistent as we want it to be, but it looks like college baseball pitching. Okay, UCLA feels like they have consistent pitching. North Carolina feels like they have consistent pitching. And then there's everybody else. And college baseball pitching is not that consistent. Overall, it hasn't been terrible these last few weeks. There's been some games, sure, but the amount of unearned runs and the amount of uncompetitive ABs, the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde plate approach between Friday and Saturday and Sunday. So what needs to fix is you need to hit the damn baseball. Okay, I was talking to our guy Mark Miller last night. Pitt is facing ACC pitching all the time. They're like second in the country in runs scored. So the point is, in order to win college baseball games, you've got to score runs, okay? This is not the World Series where you're out there facing Tim Lincecum and you can win a 1-0 game. Or you are the Giants and you have Tim Lincecum and you can win a 1-0 game. No, this is college baseball. Go score 9 runs. And I know it's easier said than done, but this team has built, Cliff Godwin has built this program off scoring runs. Yes, we've had great pitchers. Yes, we've had Carson, Gavin, Trey, Zach, Garrett Saylor, Bridges, the list goes on, Danny Beal, right? But still, you only had 2 or 3 of those guys at one time. And then you had guys whose ERA was 5, 6, 7. And you won games because you hit the ball consistently. Because Bryson Worrell and Carter Cunningham and J-Dub and the list goes on and on and on hit the ball consistently. Had competitive ABs. didn't look at 2 pitches of strikes and then swing at something that's already in the catcher's mitt. That's the damn problem. Hit the ball.
Well, I couldn't agree more. As Kenny says in the chat, consistency at the plate is the biggest thing. And I was just running some numbers. I don't know if these are 100% factual, but they're at least in the ballpark. ECU, they have 29 wins this season. How many do you think are via the run rule, Philip? What percentage? Or have I already told you?
You've not. God, we've run ruled, it seems like a actually fair amount of our wins. Yeah, we've run ruled 12 times, I would say, out of 29.
Close. 11 times. That is 38% of your victories have been run rule. It's nearly 40%, which is ridiculous.
Which means they hit the ball or they don't. That means it's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Like,
yeah.
What are we doing?
I counted 8 games, and this was very quickly as you were talking. I counted 8 games where they've scored 2 or fewer runs. So that's 19 of your, close to, 48 games now? Something around there. I guess it would be 49. You got 7 left. 19 of your 49 games, you've either run ruled your opponent or basically not shown up offensively. And I get that some of that's baseball, but and if I went 3 runs or fewer, it'd be even more dramatic, which typically 3 runs in college baseball, Philip, is not going to win you many games. So, it truly has been feast or famine all year. Boomer bust, Jekyll Hyde, whatever you want to say. It's been mind-boggling. I don't know how much of it is. You look at the raw numbers, and the raw numbers are pretty awesome. ECU's hitting 300 as a team. They're still getting on base. We're nearly 50 games of the season, and they're still getting on base more than they strike out via a walk or hit by pitch, which is ridiculous. Obviously, they're not hitting for a ton of power. We've talked about that. But, the raw numbers are great, but then they just have these games where they just disappear. So I agree. First and foremost, got to be consistent. The thing I want to see, going back to the pitching side, like Ryan Towers this week, I don't expect him to go throw 7 shutout innings, but it would not surprise me if he goes 5 innings, 3 runs. More of a standard college start. If he does that, can the offense score 5 or 6 runs instead of losing 3-1? Or, hey, we're trailing 3-1 in the 4th inning. Let's go ahead and pack it in. We're going to lose today. I just don't know. I want to see that consistency. All right, let's say Ryan Towers gives up 2 runs in the top of the 2nd. You hope he doesn't, but maybe he does, or top of the 1st. You fall behind. Can ECU just win a game like that 6-4 and overcome some adversity? That to me is a step that I want to see this team take specifically this weekend if it comes down to it.
The interesting thing that you bring this up, Stephen, go back 3 years, 4 years ago into that situation. What was the energy like at Clark LeClaire Stadium? The same as it was pregame, right? The Pirate fans weren't worried that we were down 3-1. Whatever. We'll hit a couple bombs. We'll have a couple big innings where we have 4 consecutive doubles. Look at the energy now. It's like, here we go again. We're down 3-1. Guess this crap's over. So you're not the only person who's thinking this. Everybody who's watching our show right now is thinking this. I would hope. And even if they're not thinking it consciously, they're thinking it subconsciously when they're in the stands, 4 days a week, because, it used to just not matter. Yeah, you lost college baseball games. You don't win every baseball game. It's not football, right? But nobody seemed to care when the team was down. Now they do, because the team's giving them a reason to care, or to worry, I should say, not care, to worry. Because back in the day, it was like, oh, well, they'll figure it out. They got 27 outs. They're bound to run into some hits at some point. Not that way anymore.
Lane wants to know when the portal opens. That is June 1st to the 30th, according to my quick research, Lane. Kenny says, I'm still shocked with the lack of power on this team. It is pretty amazing you've had, Colby Wallace go from 10 home runs to 1. So it's, Austin Irby, 5 home runs. He hit 12 last year. It's just been, I don't know. I'll ask Mike Most when he joins us in a few minutes. The other thing I want to see down the stretch, we talked about offense, we talked about pitching to a degree, but for me, look, the Joseph Webb story is awesome, and I think he's going to give you everything he has. But who is going to be, with Jenkins out, those second or third relievers to consistently, or at least somewhat consistently, Philip, Gavin Marley, Ethan Rose, they've shown times this year, but it's from out of Indiana, you don't know what you're going to get. So, are those guys or somebody else? Is it going to be Paxton? Are they going to be able to consistently give you 3 or 4 good outings in a row to help bridge the gap through Webb or after Webb, however you want to phrase it, because you need somebody besides Joseph Webb to be able to close out these games or at least give you some solid innings in leverage situations. And I just don't know who that guy is. Maybe it's Moran. Maybe Moran's used more out of the pen here these last few weeks with less midweek games. But they need, with Jenkins out and with some of these arms out, they need somebody else besides Joseph Webb to deliver there.
No, there's not going to be a guy. No, we're 49 games into the season, Steven. There's not a guy might get hot. He might give you 3 or 4 in a row, but if you're asking if guys are going to consistently do it, no. That's college baseball bullpens. It doesn't happen. College baseball teams usually have 2 good starters, a shutdown closer, and 1 decently trusted reliever, and they find ways to win games 9-7 because you know what? Sometimes you run a guy out there for 2 innings and he lets up 1 or 2 runs. But to your point, Steven, if you could get 5 out of Ryan Towers, allowing 3 runs, and then for the next 4 innings, you let up 1 run an inning on average, you got to win games 9-7. We used to win games 9-7. Used to. Now you don't. So, but I'm asking. I know you're trying to attack it from the other way, and you're right to do it. That's the mindset you should have. But we're 49 damn games into this. No, I mean it's not going to happen.
So it sounds like to me you don't think the Pirates are making the tournament
if they can learn to hit the baseball.
Basically, it just comes down to can they score 10 runs a game. And we have a sample size of that not being the case. So
yeah, but sometimes errors have caused the pitcher's wheels to fall off. I will say, look at Sunday. What was the stat? Did Johnny Stats pull up stat yesterday? Or somebody pull up stat yesterday about how many unearned runs there were on Sunday?
12 runs were unearned, or 5 of the 12 runs were earned, or something like that.
Yeah.
So
that's 4 too many. You look, errors happen. Guys are human. You have 1 unearned run here or there. Hey, whatever. Live with it. 5.
Yeah, so a lot needs to go right for the Pirates down the stretch. Philip mentioned that most pitching staffs in college have 2 good starters, a few good relievers. Well, most of those guys for ECU hurt right now, outside of Ethan Orby and Joseph Webb. So we'll see. We'll continue to have the discussion. We'll ask Mike Mullis his take on what the Pirates need to do well down the stretch. We'll have that conversation for you on the other side.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Go Pirates! Arrgh!
In this age of globalization, we've learned that bigger isn't always better. Ever tried to get phone help from a big corporation from a real person? Right. That's what's so nice about Phelps Chevrolet. After more than 50 years serving our community, Phelps remains family-owned and operated. Mike, Daryl, Wave, West, Alan, and Clay deliver hometown service and integrity, same as always. They share your experience, they share your values, and they are ready to help with any motoring need. Come get you one.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice.
Oh, hey, welcome back. You got here just in time. This is Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the Colors here, segment 2. Talking a lot of ECU baseball. Got some comments we may circle back to. We'll look at the conference race in segment 3. I believe we've got Mike Mullis on, ECU baseball, ESPN Plus analysts. Mully, we're heading into the final home weekend of the season, and you know, me and you, we text about this team every now and then, just kind of befuddled at week to week. We still don't know quite what to make of them, and maybe we shared one of those exchanges again after this past weekend. But I don't know, man. What do you continue to make of the up and down nature of the series lost to Memphis on the road?
Man, first off, hope everybody's good your way. I go, man, I don't know. I really don't know. And it's so funny that at least my experience has been in coaching when your constant kind of default line of explanation is we're just uninspired, not playing real hard. That's almost an admission of saying I don't know what else to say. And I pick up some of that frustration with Cliff and just in general conversation. So I don't know what to make of it. It does certainly feel like a team that is very much here we go again, and that goes both ways. When it goes good, it's like they are juggernauts, and when it goes poorly, it doesn't take long to snowball. So it's an interesting, almost feels like a study is being conducted here. It's just a really bizarre Jekyll and Hyde type team.
No doubt. I mean, Cliff said on Monday's show that, it's embarrassing for him to say, but he feels like the position players just are not mentally tough enough. And he's not saying all of them, but at least, in his opinion, probably at least a chunk of them, maybe a majority, are not tough enough. And it sounds like they're going to have a pretty tough practice today. I don't know if you're going to try to make it out there to watch it all, Molly, but I don't know. Is it possible to beat that toughness into them this late into the season? I mean, obviously they have midweek games every week until really now. So can they really grow from a couple practices like this?
I'm going to give you my take on it, man, as a kind of state of the union of the game, because I don't feel like this is singular to East Carolina. As I talk to other coaches around the country, we are dealing with a generation of players that, quite honestly, their norm has not been to play for something that matters. In other words, you see what used to be important was like American Legion Baseball and playing for your community and playing for a chance to win that title and playing for your high school with your buddies. Now, it's such an environment of playing for where you're going to go, i.e., what school am I going to next year when I'm in middle school? What high school am I going to? Used to be if you went to, high school or middle school A, you went to high school B. Well, now it's almost like a tryout, and which one's a better fit for you. So just a very different culture from a mental standpoint. Man, I use the analogy, it's kind of like driving range baseball. And what I mean by that is anybody that's played golf with me knows that when I'm on the range, I mean, I'm pretty freaking good, but I got 100 balls and it really doesn't matter. But when I get on the golf course and the nerves get to me and it's about competing, sometimes my mind can get in the way of swinging the golf club. So I think there's some of that when you look at travel ball, where if you have a bad game at 9 o'clock, you turn around again and play at 2. And that, what's the consequence of playing poorly? And all the rosters are constructed such that you only have, just enough players because, quite frankly, nobody wants to pay the money for your child not to get to play. So, I think we're seeing that in full bloom now. Even when you talk to the pro guys, they talk about how good their players look in spring training. They're big, they're strong, they throw hard, they're athletic, but there's a huge decline in the IQ of the baseball player.
Mike Mullis with us, ECU ESPN Plus analyst, talking about Pirates, talking about baseball in general. And look, Mully, the theme of today's show, at least segment one, was kind of what needs to go right for ECU to still make it into the tournament, specifically as an at-large. I mean, they still have an RPI of 40. They're still on the bubble. They probably need to win, 5 of these next 7, at least 4 of the next 7, going into the conference tournament to feel decent about it. So, I mean, this is kind of a loaded question given where the team is right now. But in your opinion, what's the most important factor in what needs to go right here down the stretch for ECU to put itself in position for that?
Yeah, I mean, it's simple. They got to win. I mean, you got to win ball games, and that's it in a nutshell. And there was a publication out not long ago. I can't remember if it was D1 or who it was. That actually had 3 AAC teams in the at-large conversation, all based off of RPI. And it is just it's funny to me, and maybe we, because we watch it so closely, kind of go, I just don't see it. But the RPI is the RPI, and I think what that's reflective of is what my last editorial was. I think it's the product as a whole is down around the country. There are those that seem to be immune to that. You see what UCLA's been doing. Carolina's been on a tear. I had a little stumble with Coastal. Coastal continues to play well, although they've been banged up. They're back healthy. But largely, man, if you look at the game, again, when you see these conference teams and you still see them in national publications being talked about as possible at-large teams, that's got to be reflective of the RPI, which is more credits given to your opponent and your opponent's wins and losses than it even is to your own wins and losses.
Mike Mullis with us. We did see a major positive and have seen these last few weeks, Mully, in the development of Ryan Towers, obviously coming off the injury and, kind of a throwback. And he did have a bunch of strikeouts this past weekend, but not a guy who's usually going to overpower you. Just what are you seeing out of Towers right now?
Well, listen, man, since he kind of reduced the shimmy on the mound, the extra motion that he had going back probably 4 weeks ago, he still has a little bit of it, but since he's simplified things, kind of like we saw with Joseph Webb, the simplification has certainly borne fruit, and he has been really, really good. He's a guy that I have enjoyed just kind of watching him since he's gotten to East Carolina, and he's always seems like he's a guy that's happy to be at the ballpark, and then to see him go out and have success. I truly enjoy watching him pitch, and quite frankly, I think the combination of he and Norby is a really, really good 1-2 punch, even when Norby's not the Norby that we had come to expect from last year, and we've seen it probably 3 or maybe even 4 times this year. He still gives you a competitive chance. So watching those two guys go back to back, you're going to have brisk games. You're typically going to have a lot of strikes thrown. And I mean, again, I enjoy stylistically when Towers has that teardrop breaking ball working. He's a tough time on both left and right-handed hitters.
It sounds like Sean Jenkins is going to miss at least some time, according to Cliff Godwin, and they're sending off his imaging of the arm injury or discomfort, however you want to term it, off to a doctor for review. So just when you think it could get much worse on the injury front, that creeps up Mully. And, I mean, they've lost premium arms this year, Jenkins, Weber, GVK, and it's just tough to overcome. So how does this bullpen, outside of pitching Joe Webb every game, every inning, how does this bullpen find a way to overcome the seemingly loss of Jenkins, at least for now?
I don't know that there is any other way other than a guy. We go back to the use of Danny Bill and his time here, and it's the last time we've really seen. And it wasn't all that long ago, but it's the last time we've really seen somebody do what Webb is attempting to do. And I mean, you've had some shots in the arm. We talked about Towers. Luke Payne's giving you some good outings. You still a couple innings with Paxton this past weekend. So there have been some kind of sneaky additions that have helped to Band-Aid this thing together. But when you lose that number of innings that you just mentioned with the frontline guys, and then, I mean, you're never going to make up that quality of inning and the reliability that those guys give you as a coaching staff and make a decision that's going to be very difficult to ever trust that you're going to get that out into these other guys that are trying to plug these holes.
How much of a boost if Grady Linehan's able to return Mully do you feel like that could get? It just feels this team needs a shot in the arm down the stretch, and I think he has a chance to return this weekend. If he gets back, just how much of a boost could that present?
Man, obviously it helps, but the offense has either been explosive or completely benign. So, and I don't know from an outfield standpoint, those guys and Sabater has done more than what's been asked of him. Largely, I mean, he's had some ups and downs. Obviously, Linehan gives you some more explosive offensive possibilities. But it obviously helps. He's a good player. Matter of fact, he's a great player, very toolsy. But I don't know. It's how is he mentally coming back, and what will be his time to kind of settle in. It's not the same, and I think what we all want as a fan base is we want it to be like the return of Riley Johnson, and it's just not going to be that out of the gate because we're talking about Riley Johnson returning after a long career. He had done it a bunch of different ways and a bunch of different times, and he comes back and it's a certain shot in the arm just to see him out there. I think, Linehan certainly makes you feel good. You know he's a good player. You know he's very capable. But I think it's going to be kind of bated breath and watching his return and just seeing kind of where he's at.
All right, a few more things from Mike Mullis. We'll get him out of here. ECU, ESPN Plus analyst. I get this question more than any other over the last several years, Mullis, so I'll ask you. The shortstop position, it just feels like ECU has had trouble recruiting kind of an all-around shortstop, a dynamic guy. And maybe it's just because it's such a premium position, it's hard to find. But you just look back at history, even under Cliff Godwin, their best teams, they really haven't had a great shortstop. And this year, Lashley's been a little hamstrung. Parham's been serviceable at times. But, why do you feel like it's been such a struggle for ECU to identify and kind of land the guy at shortstop over these last handful of years?
Well, that's ironic that you get asked that question because that's probably the number one I get as well. And I'll be honest with you, going into the season when I'm watching Lashley in the preseason and knowing the defensive accolades coming out of a really good JUCO conference down in Florida, I knew he certainly was a little nondescript from a physical standpoint, but the glove would play, at least was my feel. And I think I think he's been one of those guys that culturally may not be the best fit, kind of what Coach Godwin's alluded to. I think there's some type of gap there in what the expectations are and what the realities are. But I don't know, man. It is certainly it's certainly interesting, and I think at some point they're going to have to roll the dice, take that freshman player out of high school, hope that you could grow them and keep them around. And that's one thing we're seeing with the portal and with all the things that are in college baseball. The caliber of younger players that are not committed is higher than it's ever been just because there aren't as many landed spots. It's the ultimate game of musical chairs. And so, I mean, I think there are guys out there that you could have, and I use Braden Burris as an example, not necessarily as a shortstop, but as a player. Grady Linehan's another example, where you can find these freshman impact guys that'll step in and play, and you may actually, if you're Coach Palumbo, maybe you take a flyer on a kid that you might otherwise not be able to get, with the guarantee that they're going to have every opportunity in the world to come in and compete from day one for that starting job at shortstop. Obviously, every fan out there is going to say, "Well, yeah, that's great. We bring them in, but then we lose them. But at least we've had them. You know what I mean? At least maybe you get a couple years of good play out of one of those guys." But I don't know the answer to why it's always been kind of such a tough position for them to recruit, but it certainly has.
All right, Mike Mullis, you on the call this weekend for ECU Rice? You're going to be up in the booth?
Yep. Be there for the next 4, the Rice series, and then the grand finale there with Campbell, assuming it gets played. But yeah, we'll be at the ballpark all weekend.
All right, looking forward to it. You can hear Mike Mullis on the call, ESPN Plus again. Rice in town this weekend, and then Campbell next Tuesday. Mully, we appreciate it as always, man. We'll connect soon.
Yep, talk to you very soon.
All right, that's Mike Mullis, ECU, ESPN Plus baseball analyst. Always good to get his take on the game and the Pirates. We'll get a break in. We'll come back. We'll look at the conference standings, the latest on that, head into a new week. Also, we'll discuss some softball accolades dropping, all conference honors, and a change with the women's lacrosse program at the head coach position. All that on the way. This is Hoist the Colors.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human, about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you farm to fork beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to fork beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
In Eastern North Carolina, people appreciate things that are straightforward, honest, and dependable. For decades, our team has focused on cutting through insurance complexity for the communities we serve. And now, we're bringing that same mindset to our name. We're Flatlands Insurance Group, a simpler name that reflects the same local team, the same values, and the same commitment to the great communities we feel blessed to be a part of. Flatlands Insurance Group, your whole world is covered.
Make every day electric on the Kawasaki Electro 20 electric balance bike. Maximize the fun with long run times, impressive top speed, and Kawasaki build quality. Easy adjustability and smooth handling make everyday riding more enjoyable. And the standard MTB type tires provide off-pavement capability. The Kawasaki Electro 20 is the electric balance bike that's built to rip. Go to Ron Ayers Motorsports, Memorial Drive north of the airport, Greenville.
Inner Banks Media presents the return of Concert on the Common.
This year, we're live from the tailgate lot at Dowdy-Ficklin Stadium.
Coming up May 21st, Trial by Fire, a tribute to Journey.
Join us Thursday, May 21st for Trial by Fire at the new Tailgate Plaza next to Town Bank Tower at Dowdy-Ficklin Stadium.
Details at concertonthecommon.org.
Remember, get the podcast of the show on the IBX Media app or where you get your podcasts.
Got it. You don't have to tell me twice. I remember it exactly.
Stephen Igo and Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the Colors here on a Tuesday. We'll circle around back to the ECU conference standings of baseball, kind of the direction of things there as we head down the stretch run as well. But I want to first hit a few notes. Philip Pilkington producing today back in the 94.3 The Game studios. A change was made with women's lacrosse yesterday. Brittany Dipper out after 3 years as head coach of the women's lacrosse program in year one. She replaced Amanda Moore, by the way, who after the 2023 season went to Ohio State. But a year one Dipper in 2024, the Pirates went 4-12, 1-5 in the league. Last year in 2025, they went 7-10, 4-2 in the American, which is kind of like a hybrid deal with Vanderbilt in the league, James Madison, so it's kind of a combination league, I guess, whatever you want to phrase it. And then this year, The ladies went 8-9, 3-3 in the league. Played James Madison close in the tournament. Ended up losing to the eventual conference champions 9-7. So their season came to an end. So lacrosse definitely down from where Amanda Moore had it. ECU did finish 10-8 in 2023 against a pretty tough schedule and had some solid seasons before that under Coach Moore. But I don't know, Philip. I was a little surprised to see this. Not that I'm a lacrosse expert, but 3 years it seemed like they were at least getting somewhat better. But I haven't really spoken to any sources, just being honest about why the decision was made. But do you have any thoughts? I know you've at least followed it somewhat over the years.
Yeah, now with Amanda gone though, and her taking James Manning with him, who's a good friend of mine and roommate.
Yeah.
I was a little less. I actually probably follow Ohio State a little more now, but I try to go to the games when I can. This is one of those things. They got into the conference tournament. They had to win their last regular season game against Charlotte. They did that there, but I mean, I will tell you, this is the least I have probably this year. I don't even know if I went to one game, which is weird for me because usually I try and go to as many as I can. It's just the way it worked out with scheduling and whatnot. But like you said, they had continued to improve, but the conference even at one time had a few more top-heavy teams in it. And now this year, South Florida was great. South Florida actually had the highest RPI ever for a team to not get an at-large bid. Tim Pernetti, not happy about it. He's been very vocal on Twitter about it. So it ended up being a one-bid league, but there's been some years where you've had multiple teams ranked, and I just think overall the league was down, and still, I mean, third place isn't bad, but I guess there were expectations that were set that were not met would be my only thing I can come up with. The tough thing here at ECU, I think a lot of our non-revenue sports, they're one-year contracts, they're year in and year out, and it's just the nature of the business. But like I said, they were continuing to improve. So I don't know if, I don't know. I'm not really saying much here. I'm kind of talking in circles. I apologize. It's the least I've paid attention this year.
I was surprised because they didn't have a horrific season. They finished 63rd in RPI out of 133 teams at the Division I level. So, I mean, it's not like they were horrific. And, again, they made the conference tournament. So I just was a little surprised. I'll try to get more clarification on it from my sources. But, yeah, I just wanted to pass that news along. And a national search will begin, according to John Gilbert. We also had the softball news dropped this morning ahead of the conference tournament tomorrow. Pirates get 3 all-conference selections on this year's softball team. Kenesha Anderson, the first-team representative, leadoff hitter, sets the table. She's a junior outfitter who was named to the first team. A little bit of a surprise. Julia Apostolakis goes to the second team. Certainly made a case for first team. Maybe that adds a little bit of a chip on her shoulder, but the USF transfer did a tremendous job this season. The ace of the pitching staff, and will presumably get the ball in the conference tournament opener for ECU, regardless of the opponent. But she was named to the second team, and then another standout freshman pitcher, Sydney Rainford, makes the all-freshman team. She had potential possibility of getting a all-first or second-team selection as well, but she goes with the all-freshman team. So no Anna Sawyer. Philip, a little disappointing for her, but I know she just wants to win a championship. But at least they did get well representative on this year's team.
Yeah, they did. And I think the Anna thing's maybe a little bit of disappointment because she hit nearly 400, which is really good. She doesn't have a lot of pop. I think 5 home runs, if I remember correctly. But she's a great outfielder, and she's got a really good arm. There's been some, plays that she's been able to throw people out at the plate and whatnot, and also her ability to track a ball. It's one of the best I've ever seen, softball or baseball player, because she's not extremely fast. She's not slow, but she gets to the ball so well because she can read it off the bat so much better than everybody else. And, some of that stuff doesn't show up in a stat sheet. So, these coaches don't get to watch them every day like we do. I mean, I've watched most of the softball games this year. So that part of it's disappointing. But, hey, there's still an all tournament team still out there. And the farther you go in the tournament, you win it. Usually the team who wins it, we know from covering this kind of stuff, gets a lot of those. So there's still that. But, yeah, like we said, Anna, as long as she's playing next weekend, I think, she'll be happy. So,
she'll be happy.
Yeah, but happy for the other 3. Julia. I wonder if that one outing. We were talking about Shane yesterday. I don't think he'll mind me saying this, but her first outing of conference play against Wichita, I believe it was bad. And it's like, did that just skew Julia's numbers just enough? And what really is a good pitching conference with a tight race, just to kind of hose her out of it. I wonder if you eliminate that, or we having a different conversation right now when it comes to Julia.
No doubt. And look, she's still extremely young as well. I think a redshirt freshman, technically speaking. So, I mean, she's got the chance to come back and earn it next year. And obviously, I guess she's a redshirt sophomore. She played her freshman year at South Florida and then redshirted last year. So, still 2 years left. Come back, dominate next year. Heck, dominate the tournament and send the Pirates to the postseason. All right, the baseball standings in the American, wanted to hit on this. The Pirates are 2 games out of first. I would think, look, if you're setting these odds in Vegas, UTSA, clearly the heavy favorite. I don't know what it would be, but, it would be minus a lot because now they do have to finish at Memphis and then host UAB, and I was talking with Wags last night. If UAB were to take care of business against Charlotte this weekend and win the UTSA series, they could play themselves very much back onto the bubble. They're still in the 40s in RPI. That's going to be a big series for them, depending on what happens against Charlotte. So it's still not over yet. And the other factor is, we count the tiebreaker in favor of UTSA, but if ECU were to somehow tie UTSA, you would still get a share of the championship, which I think to the committee's eyes basically counts as a regular season championship. Obviously, you wouldn't be the number 1 seed, but it would still matter a lot. So UTSA finishes at Memphis, then UAB. Pirates, of course, have Rice and then at FAU. So what odds of, if any, based on your earlier answer, I'm going to say slim to none that you think the Pirates catch the Roadrunners, but there is at least a possibility if they were to go 6-0, UTSA could drop to 2.
Yeah, the tough thing, so UTSA's got Memphis this week, who, took 2 out of 3 against East Carolina. It is at Memphis. Yeah, it is at Memphis. Just saying. They're fighting for something, too. They want to make sure they make the conference tournament because as of now they're in, but they slip up and drop a couple games, and they're in a tough spot right now with 3 teams sitting at 8-13. They're 10-11, by the way. The thing is, it comes down to winning the FAU series. Yes, you got to win this week. We got to worry about this right now, but we've still been pretty good at home, and we've handled business at home. And you look at, you took 2 out of 3 against UAB at home. Still haven't won a conference series in what is 13-plus, or away series in general, in what is 13-plus months. So that's going to be the tough thing. Can they go on the road and do that, especially with a quick turnaround because it's a Thursday through Saturday series? You're going to have the midweek next week against Campbell. You're going to fly down Wednesday, so you're not going to have a day off because it's going to be a travel day in between those two. You're going to have to pack quick, pack a lot because you're staying in Florida for the next, 12 days or something like that, 11 days. You're going to have to hit the ball on the road. That's what it comes down to.
No.
Hit the ball on the road. Oh, my goodness. It's what it is. UAB, look,
I don't think they can do it.
UAB could get back in this race, man. They, with UTSA, it's tough. They're on the road, but at least they got to play the team in first. They got Charlotte this week at home. It's going to be senior day for them. The other team, though, look, they're not going to catch UTSA, but we've got to talk about in this thing is Rice. They can jump up into second place. Yeah. If they take 2 out of 3 this weekend against ECU, UTSA takes out UAB next week. They got Tulane at home. Tulane's not a good road team either. Just saying.
I continue to stand by the statement that Jay Ullman is the worst coach in America when he's not coaching against ECU. That's the Tulane head coach. They're not good unless they're playing the Pirates. They're incredible. But, here's the thing. If ECU wins 2 out of 3 versus Rice and UAB, then you'd want UAB to at least drop a game to Charlotte. This is more so for the 2 seed. To lock up the 2 seed, which gets you a bye to the, semifinals, whatever. I guess it may be the quarterfinals. Either way, you get a double bye, the best bye you could get. You need a top 2 seed. And so I think if ECU wins the series versus Rice, then you feel pretty good going into the final series, at least about getting a top 2 seed. Now, if you drop the series, then everything's up for grabs going to FAU, which is not what you want. Then at that point, you'd be on the outside as far as making the NCAA tournament too. So you at least got to win the series this weekend. You sweep it, you feel great about getting a top 2 seed. Maybe you're still in the conference title race, but you at least got to win the series. Yeah, the other thing, man, you're getting, Rice's RPI is not terrible either, right? We're kind of talking about this from an at-large standpoint. We're kind of hitting it with 2 different angles here. Like, you can gain some points this week, too, in the committee's eyes. Like you said, you go into that final week in contention
If you could sweep a team like Rice, who's playing their best baseball right now, I don't know how much the committee's paying attention to what Rice is doing, but they are playing better ball. You're putting yourself in a good spot. But again, put together back-to-back weeks. I mean, if they can't put together back-to-back good weeks, does this conversation matter? Hell no. And they haven't been able to do it.
The question of the day, what needs to go right for ECU baseball down the stretch? They need to play back-to-back weeks of good baseball, and they need to win a series on the road, but they can't do that until they take care of business at home against a surging Rice team. All right, let's get our final break in. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the show after this.
Get ready to bring on the savings at Greenville Toyota with major deals on brand new Toyotas like a Camry, $229 a month, or RAV4, $279 a month. Now's your turn to save at Greenville Toyota.
In Eastern North Carolina, hard work matters, and it always has. At Flatlands Insurance Group, we've been showing up for our neighbors since 1963, helping families and business owners navigate change, weather tough seasons, and keep moving forward. Decades later, our purpose hasn't changed: to help protect what you've poured your time and energy to, from your home to your health to whatever comes next. Flatlands Insurance Group, your whole world covered.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's Cut in Color and let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
At National Finance, we're all about hometown support, just like ECU football. National Finance helps us win on and off the field. They've got your back when you need it most. Fast, easy personal loans for life's big plays. And just like us, they're committed to Eastern North Carolina. National Finance, proud supporters of ECU athletics. Visit nfcmoney.com for loans as fast as today.
Your future is full of possibilities, and Pitt Community College can help you explore every option. You can earn a degree, learn a trade, transfer to a university, or launch a new career. We offer the support you need to succeed with flexible schedules, affordable tuition, and programs designed for the real world. Your path, your future, your college. Pitt Community College. Register now.
Bring on the savings with new Toyotas from $159 a month at Greenville Toyota. Get huge discounts like Corollas $159 a month or Tacomas $249 a month. Save today at Greenville Toyota, where our volume saves you money.
Visit Larry's Steakhouse for a tender, hand-cut certified Angus ribeye. Other entrees include perfectly seasoned pork chops, chicken or seafood favorites like shrimp, tuna, and salmon. Complement your meal with Larry's fresh 20-plus item salad bar, or enjoy it as an all-you-can-eat entree. Daily rotating favorites include meatloaf, chicken pastry, hamburger steak, spaghetti, pork chops, and more, all complemented with your favorite country sides. Whether it's for lunch, dinner, or our Sunday brunch, remember to support and eat local. Larry's Steakhouse.
We're live with Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
Hoist the Johnny Roger!
Now, back to Hoist the Colors.
All right, final few minutes of the show here. We were talking about the American Conference standings. We hit on the ECU angle, but I did want to bring up, look, I don't know how good this conference is in baseball. It's at least more respectable this year. I think that's just, if you look at what South Florida did non-conference and what Charlotte did non-conference compared to what they've done in conference, shows that this league might actually be decent. But the main thing I want to bring up here with Philip Pilkinen to round out the show is, again, I don't know how good it is, but it's at least interesting, Philip. The final two spots in the standings don't even make the conference tournament. And because Charlotte swept Tulane, you now have three teams tied for 8th at 8 and 13. South Florida and Tulane, two of those teams play each other this week. Then you have Charlotte hosting Memphis, which is 2 games ahead of them right now. The final weekend of the season. So, I feel like there will at least be some intrigue here for really the entire standings here down the last 2 weeks. A lot can happen. You could even see if ECU sweeps Rice or vice versa, that could completely alter the standings here too. With Rice having to finish, I think, against one of these bottom teams as well. So it could get crazy.
We had to do a whole segment last year, Stephen, of the bottom of the conference and who's going to miss the conference. Yep. We came in on Wednesday and actually did that last year. It might have been Thursday. So, yeah, that does make it intriguing. Obviously, you're not tanking in college athletics, but it keeps teams from tanking, right? You know, that they've got to stay out of that bottom feeder and make the conference tournament. So, no, it does make it intriguing. It makes every series that much more important. But it holds up the authority of the other series, right? So, say you're playing a team that's at the top of the league. You're like, crap, they're playing somebody who's the bottom league. Are they going to care anymore? Yeah, they care because they want to make the conference tournament. They don't want to fall out of that. So, it does hold up the integrity of the league. It still stinks. I think everybody should make the conference tournament. That's how when conference tournaments were invented by Everett Case back in the 50s, that's how he intended them. But, hey, that's a conversation for another day.
And again, 5 through 8 will play basically a double elimination bracket. Or excuse me, it'll be single elimination, then they'll advance to play double elimination. So if you finish in that 5 through 8, you're playing an extra game, conceivably. So it's a lot to work through. We will, by the way, have our watch along. Depends on when ECU's playing, but our plan is to have it for the conference tournament. James Giglio says he's in. I think Phillip's in, depending on if he has to produce the games or not. But we'll figure that out as we get closer. Kaysen or Maley will probably join us as well. So looking forward to the conference tournament. No matter when and where the Pirates are playing, we're going to be following along. All right, appreciate everybody in the comments section today. Also appreciate Mike Mullis and Phillip Pilkington. We are out of time. We'll be back Wednesday, 12 noon with James Giglio. We'll take a look at ECU's at-large opponents or other contenders for those final few spots in the NCAA tournament field for baseball, and talk some NHL, NBA on Wednesday's show with James.